Okay, so I went to downtown Clovis and shot a roll of Portra 400 in my Pentax 6.7. And I just wanted to show you guys how I process a batch of photos because it's if you watched my other videos, you saw me doing these individual photos. They were each shot in very different, environments or different lenses or whatever, different film. But when and so you have to treat each photo individually. But that's not typically how you process photos. At least not me. I scan in a whole roll and then I process the whole roll. And a lot of times those photos are taken in a very similar lighting. So let me just walk through it, and maybe this will help. If you haven't seen my earlier videos on how to use convert negative, capture one's not using not using capture one's convert negative video on how to process color film, then please go back and check that out. So I'm gonna just jump into it. Real quick though, the first thing I like to do is when I get a roll, I like to first plug in the metadata, and then I sync that across all the photos. I don't know, it helps me to remember. But I skipped that. That's already done. The next thing is, you know, for consistency's sake, we white balance, and then we can sync that across all the photos as well, like so. And now that's just one less step we have to worry about. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to process one photo, and actually all of these are flipped. So let me do that as well. There we go. And then sync that across all of them. Yep. And then I guess I'll deal with the crop on an individual basis. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to process one, and then we're going to see how it goes. And if it goes well, we'll then apply that to the following photos and see how they turn out. Hopefully we can only edit one photo. Okay, so I'm going to follow the same procedure I've done in my earlier videos, which is, I didn't follow my own procedure, did I? First things first. Oops. Let's go and turn off lens correction, and then switch to film negative. Okay, here we go. Now we can go and crop down, and I like to crop out the sky or the really strong highlights, whatever they may be, but we want as much of everything else as we can get in the frame. Good. Okay. Now, again, moving the data to be more centered. What I see is that the blue is drifting off the edge, and I don't like that. So I just pull it in, like a third of a stop is fine. Whatever the number, doesn't matter. Just we want to get to be able to see the full histogram for each channel. So we're gonna go there, and now I like to start with the green. You guys have seen me do this before, so I'm just going to rush through this. Because the point is really doing it in a batch, not the individual photos. Okay, now that I have my green, let's line up the red. I'm being really quick about it, just because I know I gotta go back and tweak this side anyway. Back and back and back and back. Looks good to me. And now the blue. This one always tricks me. And then it looks pretty good like it is. Okay, this looks about right. Now let's back the crop off to where we like it. I like to include the frame border, You do whatever you want to do. Actually, I'm also going to take this opportunity to orient the frame. Something like that, I think, is close-ish. Okay. And then, yeah, whatever. A little bit over, a little bit more over, a little bit more over. Just, okay. Now, let's slide over the input channel to output channel to taste. Or you can also, if you just want to go by the data, you can move it until the left edge reaches the edge of this curve histogram. Or it's typically right there at the edge. Okay. Something like that. And this one is to taste, because this is a matter of where do you choose to clip off those highlights versus having a balanced midtones. I like to look at the brightest thing and just, where is it still good? Like there. And now that we have that in place, I can bias the midtones a little, but I prefer to do it here because it's a little more well-rounded. I can see this is blowing out a little. So let's taper off a bit more. I think that's good. And then we'll just pull this up a little bit more. And that's blown, but I don't care. All right, that looks pretty good. Now I'm going to warm it up just a hair with the white balance tool, and I really can't do much. We have like a little wiggle room. And then maybe, I think that looks nice. Okay, and now I'm going to just take that as it is, and I'm just gonna, actually a neat trick is you can take this and you can just create a style from it. And then you can apply that style to the different photos, which I've already done. That one is L. Actually, looks like L is a little bit, yeah, whatever. All right, so what we'll do now is we'll take, I'm not going to, I mean, you can, I'll just show you, like you can take this and then you can just click L and then, hey, look, it looks pretty darn good. And then the cool thing about that is if you want to, you can just remove that. But I'm not going to mess with that today. You guys can create styles and reuse them. It's handy because a lot of times you can just reuse a style because, you know, you've probably shot with a similar film in a similar lighting environment. Or you can just edit the photo and then you can select, make sure edit selected, and then we want to copy. I'm going to say copy and apply. Normally I hold the shift key, but I'm not going to. Holding the shift key just automatically applies everything, but I don't want to apply the crop. So I'm going to do that. Now, right off the bat, they all look pretty good. We might need to do a little bit of tinkering on a per photo basis. Because, like, for example, maybe this one was a little bit more overexposed or underexposed. So typically the only thing I see that needs to be done is we just need to tell it how far we want to adjust the fall off of the highlights. And then when that brings everything down a little, we can just bring the midtones back up here, or we can bring up the midtones here if you want. This is more uniform adjustment of midtones. This is more centric adjustment of midtones, and I generally prefer that. But that looks pretty good. Now, I probably could have applied a standard crop to them all. That first one had a rotation to it. I think what I'm going to do, so I'm going to just do that, and then take that crop and then apply it to all of them. boop, boop, boop. And now they're all, that doesn't mean they're correct, but it's a good starting place. For example, I can already see that big giant Pentax 6.7, it's hard to hold level sometimes. I don't know. I love it. That's part of the character, I guess. But yeah, just fixing the rotation a little, I think, is good. And you can also do this if you want to be that, careful. I don't, but you can fix the rotation while scanning. I don't really care enough to do that. It's much quicker to just do it this way. Okay, and then the next one, I feel like something like that is good. I see a little bit of blowout here, so let's bring that down. And this one is a little bit, yeah, something. I think it looks good like that. What about the highlights? We can bring that down just a hair. A little slightly warmer. Okay, you're getting the idea, I think. So, you just run through on a per photo basis, and it's pretty quick and easy. Okay, so this is blown out. This was a trickier lighting situation just because it was so dark in here. Obviously, there's a wide range between the highlights and shadows. Did we lose it? No! I love film. Look at that. The cool thing about film is that the highlights compress as opposed to digital where the highlights blow out and in film, of course, the shadows blow out. But I like highlights, so that's cool. And then we can bring up midtones or shadows if we want. I'm not going to do that now. I think the point in this was to demonstrate how to process a roll. You could see it was very quick. We don't have to go and individually edit each photo. I mean, you do, but that's just a little nitpick here and there. I mean, we all do that with individual photos anyway. But the general color conversion applied to all the photos because they were shot in similar lighting with a similar camera, similar lens, similar film. So I hope that helps. Have a good one. See you in the next one.